Hi, my name is Meg Boyd, and my topic is Google Tools. So before I researched for this presentation, I didn't know much about Google Tools at all. But since my school district uses Google and Chromebooks district-wide, I felt that it was very necessary for me to learn how to use it, so this topic is very beneficial to me. So some of the Google tools that I found extremely interesting I listed here, but there are many more, just not near enough time to talk about them all. So I listed some of the most interesting. So we have Google Alerts, Google Blogger, Google Books, Google Calendar, Google Chrome, Google Docs, Google Double-Click Ad Planner, Google Drive, Google Classroom, Google Insights, Google Mail, and Google Places. So I went to this Google website here below, and I could read about all of these different Google tools and what they're most beneficial for. And these were the most interesting that I found that would correlate to my classroom. So, what is in my Google Drive? I'm going to talk about, in this first area of this presentation, the Google Drive and what it includes. So, what is in my personal Google Drive? The first thing I found very interesting that I'd never heard of before is Google Calendar. So, your calendar can hold any important dates that you have in your busy, crazy life. You can color code them. And one of the new tools is that you can sync your Gmail account to your calendar, so when you send or receive an email with a date in it, it will automatically correlate to your calendar and just be there without you having to insert it in. So I found that really interesting, and I plan on using this so that my students and parents will have easy access to their calendar and can see what I've sent in their email for their dates. And if I were to change a date and email it, it would automatically change in their calendar. So, the Google Drive. The Google Drive is a safe place for students to keep all of their work. When you are working on any type of Google document, when you're working on it and press save, it is going to save to your Google Drive. So, it's extremely easy to access. It's free when you create your Google account. One of the most interesting things I found was that every student at our middle school this year is going to have a Chromebook, their own personal Chromebook. And so I found it interesting that everything they work on for school or extra in their Chromebook will save to their Google Drive, and it will all be in the same area for them to share online with their teachers, with other students, to correlate and work on projects, etc. So I've listed a few things that are in my Google Drive that I plan on using daily once school starts. So my drive includes Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Forms, and Google Classroom. All of these are already pre-listed in your Google Drive. You just click on it and you can see all these different things, but these are the ones that I've found to be most helpful. So first I'm going to talk about Google Classroom. So your Google Classroom includes tools that will help you insert assignments and distribute paperwork back. There's Google Documents, which is very similar to a Word document. There's Sheets and Slides for writing, sending out math homework, working on a science project together, just anything. Gmail for communication, and Google Calendar for scheduling, which I've already mentioned, and it's extremely helpful. So here is a picture of my personal Google Classroom. So I made a practice classroom at a professional development we had recently, which is what we're going to look through in a minute. And then one of my fellow teachers added me into one of her Google Classrooms so I could see what it was like on the student side. So when you pull up your Google Classroom for a student or a teacher, this is the screen you will see. And you can color code the class period. And so you can only have a classroom listed in your classroom if your teacher has invited you. So I'm planning on making a classroom for each period of my day, color coding it differently, so that it's easier for me to see and my students to see, and then only inviting them to the class period that they're in. So when I see it, it'll say like first period English class, and then they'll see it on their screen as whatever period they're in, and they'll see my name in our classroom. So I've opened up my Practice PD classroom, and you can see that I submitted a quiz and I submitted some classwork. So you can submit PDFs and tell the students instructions. Like I said, answer questions on a separate sheet of paper. So you can list instructions. You can show when it's due. You can see, this is from the teacher's view, you can see how many are done or not done, which I found really helpful instead of constantly asking who's not finished or who's not finished. Here you can click and you can see who is not finished. On the right side over here, I've created a practice quiz, which you can see over here who's done and not done. I've listed instructions, and it shows when it's due. If you want, and it's only multiple choice, or the students pick the answer, as you're creating the quiz from the teacher, you can click the right answer so that it automatically grade it for you. Obviously, it won't if there's a fill in the blank or an essay, but it will be helpful if it's just a pick an answer choice. So this is what it would look like when I've sent it to the class. So, as I mentioned earlier, Google Docs is basically just a Word document. There's many things you can use it for, but I found it most helpful that you can collaborate with multiple users. So, if I was sending out a Google document and I needed all of my students to comment back, they could, and it will tell me who commented, and it'll just be a different color. Or if they're working on a group project and they need to put all their information into one document, they can collaborate with each other through the Google document and all put their own information in, and it will all appear on one document. You can pick spreadsheets, you can make a presentation, you can insert drawings or tables. Of course, there's documents, just regular like a Word document. You can create a survey, there's different types of forms, and some even are pre-made. So, there's some more Google tools that I found extremely interesting that you won't find in your Google Drive. You can find these through Google, and you can use them since you have a Google account, but there's not located in your Google Drive. First, we have Google Books. I think this is going to be excellent for me to use this year because our school district has canceled out Accelerated Reader. So, I wanted to find an interesting and intriguing way to get my students to read without being forced, because there's no incentive for them to read now that there's no AR points. So I'm thinking of extra ways that I can motivate them to read, and I'm hoping that Google Books will be a fun way because they'll be able to use their Chromebooks. So Google Books searches for the full text of a book or magazine that Google has previously scanned into their database. So I really enjoy it because a lot of books are free. But another thing that's interesting is you can buy or rent a book. So if you found a document that you needed that you couldn't get for free, you can rent it or buy it, but when you're finished, you can resell it back on Google Books, which I think is very interesting. And then there's some that you can download the PDF if it's already free and the distributors haven't copyrighted it. So I'm planning on using this a lot. It would also be helpful if you're doing a research project in one of your classes and your students needed to use full text of books and magazines as a resource. They could use their Google Books and find resources and magazines to put into their research project. So next we have Blogger. I think this might be my favorite. So Google Blogger is a Google tool that students or teachers could use to communicate within the school district or community-wide. So some ideas I came up with for students and teachers to use. So students can make team or club pages. They could put group projects on a blog, or they can make a blog about a specific area of knowledge they know and teach it to the class. I found that very interesting, and I plan on using that in some area of my classroom. But for teachers, you could use it for assignments, resources. You could post due dates and events that are happening around the school, all on your blog. I asked other teachers and different parents around our community what something they wished that their teacher did for their students that they don't previously do. And many of them said they just wish there was one specific area that they could always refer to that would have information about the classroom, homework, community-wide event, dates for the school, a way to contact teachers without having to personally call the school and leave a note, etc. So I think I'm going to make a blog because there I can load pictures of what we're doing in class, set dates, upload information about the homework that they should be doing, talk about events that are happening, and give parents a way to be involved in their kids' everyday life without physically having to be at school. When I upload this, the teachers in my 7th grade area can also upload to this blog for different areas of their classroom. I think it'll be really interesting. So next we have Google Insights, and I found this really cool you could use it in social studies or science or really any different area to do some research. So on Google Insights, it allows you to search for keywords to see their trends over time. You can see charts and tables that show whether your topic is gaining in popularity or when it was most popular, and I found it really cool that you can search by a specific region or see where around the country that it was specifically searched the most. So, students could use this while working on projects in class, to check the stock market in a social studies course, keep up to date on the news for news reports, see what is most searched, see trends for a math class. You can make a math problem, or edit specifically to their self and region. So as you see in this picture provided, they're searching lawyers and attorneys. And one thing I found extremely interesting is at the bottom it says related terms. Because what if your student hadn't thought of these other words and they can relate it to something else, and then their research project is just that much better. You can even subscribe to different blogs or news stations that you would like to regularly receive news from. This would be just great in the classroom to get the students involved and use their technology. And if you're looking for something, this would be great to see what you've already searched. You can use the related terms to search other stuff and correlate it. I just think it would be really helpful. So next we have our bibliography. This is where some of the resources I use to come up with this information. And then we have our review.